Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at the 23mm f1.4 from Fuji. Now I'm going to go ahead and say that this is by far my favorite and most used Fujifilm X lens. There's a reason for that. There's actually two reasons for that. Number one, the focal length. 23mm is a useful focal length, and I can take this lens pretty much anywhere and make the focal length work for me. Another reason is the fact that it's a 1.4, which means that I can also take it pretty much anywhere and take advantage of its low light performance. So without further ado, let's get into the video and we'll discuss a few reasons why you should get this lens. Now when we look at this lens, and the fact that it's a 1.4 means that you're going to be able to do three things. Number one, you can lower your ISO by one stop, which means you're going to end up with cleaner images. Number two, the fact that if you have moving subjects, the fact that you can raise your shutter speed by one stop also means that you're going to be able to freeze the action better than you would with an f2 version. And number three is the fact that you can get better subject separation with a 1.4 versus with the f2. The f2 really doesn't separate the subject, being that this is a 35mm in focal length, which is not very tight. There's not a lot of compression, and so it'll make it very hard for you to get that separation between the subject and the background. So for reason number one, I think the aperture is a very important part of this lens and one of the reasons why I bought it. Now let's look at manual focusing on this lens, because a lot of people don't really cover this in their videos, and I think that this is one of the best focusing mechanisms that Fuji has implemented but have abandoned for some reason, and that is the focus clutch mechanism. Now you can pull back, as you can see. If you haven't pulled back the clutch, you cannot focus. The focus ring will not move. And I suggest that you don't use any brute force or you'll probably break the lens. So you pull back. Right now we're at the close focusing distance, and all you have to do is just move. Oh, by the way, there's a hard stop here, so you cannot, if you hear that, that means you cannot go any further, which is good. I like that. And then when you reach infinity, another hard stop. Now it's slightly smoother than I would like, and also Olympus, they do a better job with manual focus clutches. But for the most part, it feels really good. It feels reassuring. And another thing is just listen to this. I mean, it just sounds really good. So reason number two, I love the focus mechanism system on this lens. Now when we talk about image quality, you have to realize that right now in Fuji, there's only two options: the 23mm f2 as well as the 23mm f1.4. And the clear winner here in image quality, not by a long shot, but it's still the winner, is the 23mm f1.4, just because it gives you that much better detail clarity as well as sharpness. But when it comes to the bokeh, it's also very smooth, and I think that a lot of people want to dismiss this lens because it's big and it's clinical, but it's not clinical. It has a very smooth rendering, but at the same time it has like a signature to it. It doesn't have character. I don't like using that word because a lot of times character can mean many things, and so it just has a signature to it that I really enjoy. It looks very smooth. Every time I look back at my images and I see the 23mm f1.4, I know that I took those images with that lens because of the way the bokeh looks, the way it renders, as well as the pop. It has, it doesn't have a lot of contrast. It's not overly contrasting. It's not overly sharp. I think that title goes to the 90mm f2. That lens is fantastic. It's sharp. It's probably the sharpest lens in Fuji. It's the sharpest lens I own. I haven't tested the 80mm f2.8. I've heard that that is the sharpest lens, but to me, because I haven't tested it, I can't really comment on that. But needless to say, if you're looking for image quality, right now there's nothing that compares, comes close to the 23mm f1.4. And so for image quality, this gets a big thumbs up. So when we look at the size and weight of this lens, I think that a lot of people want to point out that you have the 23mm f2, which is a lot lighter and smaller. And while yes, that may be true, it doesn't mean that this lens is big by any stretch of the imagination. We have full frame and DSLRs, DSLRs and mirrorless cameras that have 35mm f1.4 equivalents that are really big. And then you're probably going to say, well, it's only an f2 in terms of, you know, depth of field, and I agree. But the point is that you're still getting a 1.4 in terms of light gathering, and for this size, I think that it's pretty compact for what it is. Another thing is that I walk around with this lens. I have this Peak Design leash, and it doesn't bother me at all. I can walk around all day with this lens, whether it's mounted on an X Pro 1 or whether it's mounted to the XT1. It doesn't weigh that much that it bogs me down, so that leads me to believe that it's not as big as people claim it to be. But yeah, that's pretty much it for size and weight. It's manageable enough, and I don't think that that should be an issue for you. And this is how the camera looks on an XT1. Looks really nice, and actually let me take the cap off. Looks very nice, well balanced. I think it looks very good. It's a nice combo, and to me, it's not that big. It's just right. Now on the X Pro 1, it definitely looks a bit bigger, but I wouldn't say that it's that much bigger. It looks really good in comparison, and I actually like the way it feels in the hand. It might not be like smaller primes like the 18mm f2 or the 27mm f2.8, which make this a compact setup, but nonetheless it's manageable in size, and I don't actually feel that it's too heavy. Now for street photography, you might want to go with the 23mm f2 simply because it's lighter and it's more compact, but the results that you get with this camera and the X Pro are just nothing short of fantastic. Now with the XT100, it definitely needs a grip for it to be more comfortable. Now I'm not going to say that it's not comfortable even without the grip, but it definitely gets heavier after a while because it is front heavy. Nonetheless, it works fantastic. I would have to say it's not as fast or as precise on the XT100 as it is on the XT1, but needless to say, this combo is actually really nice. Alright, so that's pretty much gonna wrap this video up for me. So I'll be playing some sample images at the end, but quick announcement, I'll be reviewing the XT100 in 2019. Is it a camera that you should get? Well, if you want to see more content like this and also reviews of more lenses, which will be coming soon, please consider subscribing as well as hitting the bell notification icon so you get notified when these videos come out. Also, if you have any suggestions, questions, or comments, just leave them down below. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. Until the next one, I'll catch you guys later. Please hit like if you like this video, also hit subscribe and the bell notification so you never miss a new video. Thanks for watching.